So again, it's me talking to myself and showcasing this awesome tutorial. Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have something really exciting in store for you. I'm pumped to guide you step by step through the implementation of a fantastic video call application. Now, if you're following my channel, you already know that I'm a massive fan of the Spring framework. So you can bet we'll be adding the awesome Spring touch to our project. Alright, so if you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future coding adventures. And hey, let's spread the knowledge together by giving this video a thumbs up. The more thumbs up, the more people we can share the video with. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to check out my website. There you'll find premium courses tailor-made to help you sharpen your coding skills and take them to the next level. Alright, no more waiting around. Let's unleash the coding magic and get started on building our epic video call application. First of all, and as usual, let's start by creating a new Spring Boot project. So the first thing we need to do is to go to the Spring Initializer by visiting the website start.spring.io. So then here we will choose a Maven project, Java language, and then we can choose the latest version of Spring Boot available right now, which is 3.1.2. Now let's add some metadata. So here I will make it Alibu, and then I will call it video call, and then we will have the description, and here we have the package name, and then it will be a jar packaging, and of course you can choose Java 17 minimum, or you can also go with Java 20. Then let's add few dependencies, and for this we'll need first the dev tools, and then we will need Spring Web because we are building a REST API, and finally we need Lombok to reduce the boilerplate code. Now go ahead, hit the generate, and then download and open your project using your preferred IDE. So let's go ahead and do it, and let's continue. Then we have our project ready, and let's first start by building a small REST API that will manage users in a simple way. So all we need to do is to have few endpoints, one for login, one for the register, another one for logout, and a final endpoint is to get the list of the users that we have in our application. And for that we will not be using a database because we only need a backend that will be able to store the users. If you want to build it against a database, feel free to do it, but for the purpose of this tutorial we will not do it that way. So here I will create first of all a new class, and I will call it user. In a package I will call it user. So this API is mainly about managing users. So here I will need the data annotation from Lombok, and also I will need the builder. And then let's declare a few properties. So first of all we will have final string username, and then we will have private, again another string email, and then we have a private string password. So let me make this one full screen. So we have password here, and finally we have a private string status. So this will hold the status of the current user, whether it's connected or online or offline. After that I will create a simple service. So here I will create another class, and I will call it UserService. So this UserService, it will hold, or it will have the information about or the implementation of our user service. So for that we will have, as I mentioned, so first of all we need the service annotation, and then we will have a private static final list. So here it will be list of user, and let's call it users list, and then I will initialize it with a new array list. So now we have our users list. First of all we will have a method called register. So it will be a public void register. So because we need only to register a user, and it takes a user as a parameter. So user, and when we register a user, this means that the user by default should be online. So that what we need to do, user.set status, and let's call it online. So since it's of type string, and then all I need to do is users list dot add, and then the user that I received as a parameter. Then we will have another method login. So in order to log in a user, I need to return the user itself, and let's call the method login, and we receive an object user as a parameter. And then all I need to do, first I will create a variable. I will call it user index equals, and then I will create a stream or an int stream out of my users list. So it will be int stream dot range. So the range, it will start from 0 until the users list dot size. And then what I need to do is I need to filter. So here I will have my user and then lambda expression. So users list dot get, sorry, here it's not the u but e as index. So I will get the user of the current index dot get email, and this email should be equals to my user dot get email. All right, if I get something, or if I have a return or a valid input, I will do dot find first or find any, both of them works, or else I will just throw an exception. So here I will just throw an exception of type new runtime exception, and here I will just add a message user not found. And then once I get my user, what I need to do is I need to fetch it. So here I will create a variable. I will call it cuser for connected user equals users list dot get user index. So here the first part is just to fetch the index of the user from my users list, and then I just need to get this user index, and here I will check the password. So if not, the connected user dot get password dot equals, if it's not equals to the user that I received as a parameter, dot get password. So what I need to do, again, I will throw a new runtime exception. So I will copy this one, and here it will be throw new runtime exception, and here I will say password incorrect. So after that, once I check the password, all I need to do is cuser or the connected user. I need to update the status again, and I will set it to online. So our user is online, is connected again, and then I will return my connected user. So this is the login method. And then I will have another method called logout. So for the logout, I will need exactly this part right here. So I will just copy it, and now I will create a public void method, and I will call it logout. And to log out the user, all I need to do is to have his email. And then I will paste this one. And here, instead of testing user.getEmail, I will just directly check the email that I got as a parameter. Once the user is logged out, all I need to do is my users list dot get and then user index dot set status or status to offline. And like this is how I would log out a user. And then finally, we will have a public list of users, and I will call it find all, and then it simply return the users list. So now our service is ready. Let's go ahead and create a controller for that. So here I will just right click, new Java class, and I will call it UserController. So this UserController, it will be also a simple controller containing few methods. So now let me close all this and open back my UserController. So to make this one a controller, as you know, I need to add the REST controller annotation, and then we need, of course, the request mapping. And for the mapping of this one, it will be /API/v1/users. And then I will need the required args constructor in order to inject my dependencies. And I will need also to add, since it will be a web application and we will create the front end side for it, so we will need this cross origin to avoid the course issue. So here I will just set the origins to star for now. So this is not recommended for production environment, but we can keep it like this. And here I will also use SLF4J in case I need logging. So then what I need to do is private final user service. So here I'm just injecting my user service, and then I will create the methods that I have. So now, just to make it easier for you and not to waste a lot of time, so all I need to do is just to copy all these methods from here, and then I will remove all the unnecessary stuff. So here, instead for the register, all I need to do is to call my service.register and then user. And here, all I need to do is return service.login. And then I pass my user as a parameter. Same for the logout. So it will be service.logout and then email as a parameter. And finally, this one will be my service.findAll. Now, all I need to do is to add the annotations. So for the register, it will be a post mapping, and that's it. For the login, it will be a post mapping again. And here I will just add /login. And the same for the logout, it will be a post mapping again, and then a mapping /logout. And finally, I will add a get mapping for this method. So now let me remind you that in the service, we have here throw exceptions. So we are throwing exceptions in case we don't have the user or if the password is incorrect or we cannot find the user. So let's handle these exceptions. And for that, I will add an exception handler in my controller. So I will not be creating a global exception handler. And in case you want to understand a bit more how we can handle exception in a REST API, I would invite you to visit and check the playlist and check the video exception handling in Spring. So here I will catch any exception .class, and then I will create a public response entity, and I will return a string, and then I will call it handle or handle exception. And of course, I will pass the exception as a parameter. So I will just call it ex. And then what I need to do, simply first I will do e.print or ex.print stack trace just to have the stack trace in my console in case I need to investigate something. And finally, I will simply return a response entity dot status. So for the status, I will just call it http status.internal server error, and I can also add static import for this one, and then .body. And for the body, I will just get the ex.get message. So I will just return the message from the exception that I got. So when I get this message, this means, for example, that it will return user not found or password incorrect or user not found right here. All right, so in this way, we built a simple REST API. So let me optimize the imports. So now we have our REST API ready to use, and to check, we can just run the application and make sure that everything works fine. So the application is up and running. Also, we can do something else just to make our life easier later on. I will just go to video call application. And what I will be doing in here is I will just insert few users at the application startup. And in order to do that, all I need to do is to create a bean, and this bean, it will be a public command line runner, and let's call it command line runner. And within the command line runner, you can inject any bean. So in this case, we want to inject our user service. And then what I will be doing is just simply return and then args, so it will be a lambda expression. And here inside this method, I want to do service.register, and here I will just create a user.builder.build, and I will just create a simple user right here. So here I will have .username, and I will call it Ali, and then email, I will call it ali@mail.com, and finally I will set a password which is going to be a simple password 3 times A, just to make it simple for me later on. So I will just create another 2 users. So this is the first one, the second one, and this one, let's call it John, and then john@mail.com, and finally let's call this one Anna, and then anna@mail.com, and all of them, they have the same password. All right, so now we have our application ready to be used. So let's move on and let's start creating our front end for this API. Now let's start building our web application. So first of all, in this static folder, I will create a new file, and then I will call it styles.css. So this will be the CSS for style of my application, and I will create another one. We will need it later on, and I will call it index.css, and this where we will put all the CSS files that we have. So now I will just create a directory and I will call it CSS. I will create another folder right here and I will call it JS. So let's refactor this one, move it here. And then in this JS file, we will have the logic of our application. So then we will create a few HTML pages. And for this, we will have three main pages. So first of all, we'll have a login page, a register page, and an index.html file. So here under resources and then static again. So right click and then new, and then you can select HTML file. So for this one, let's call it login.html or just login. It will have the suffix HTML automatically. And then I will just provide you with the code. So here we have the HTML code for our login page. And simply it will have like a block with a join us. I will just showcase it to you right now. And then we have a login form. And then finally we will have a button submit to login or a link to visit the register page. And also I prepared the script that we will be implementing later on, which is this login.js. So let's go ahead and create this login.js. So let's use the IDE and then create login file, and let's create it under the static folder. So now if I go here, you will see under static, we have CSS and we have JS. Then under the same place, let's go ahead and create another HTML file and let's call it register.html. So again, here, if we go back to the login, we see that the register is no longer highlighted in yellow. So this means that it exists. Now what we can do, let's go ahead and let me provide you also the code for this register.html. All right, so now the code is ready. Again, this is the import of our JS file, and let's go ahead and create it. So let's create it in the same place. And if we check, it will be created exactly right here. So now if I start the application and visit the browser with the URL localhost 80 and the port 8080, you will see that by default, it will display one of these pages once we visit them. So when I open my browser and I visit the URL localhost 8080 and then /login.html, so this is how the HTML page looks like. So here we have this join us, and then if you want to, like, you will have the code available on my GitHub, and also I will provide you with the links for my Instagram, Facebook, our LinkedIn profile, GitHub, and also I will add the Discord server where you can find everything about me. Then we have here, if you don't have an account, we only need to click on this register and we will be redirected to this register page. So the same, we have this join us, and here all the information or the form where we can fill the information of the user. Once we hit register, we will be registered and then redirected to the index page. So now talking about the index page, let's move on and let me show you how the index page will look like. So again, under this static folder, so let me close all this, close all tabs, and then let's create new and then HTML file, and let's call it index. So then I will provide you the code for it. So here again, we have this index.html file. And also, as you can see, we don't have yet this index.js. So let's go ahead and create it under the same location. So as you can see here, we have now 3 JS files. We have 2 CSS files, and also we have our 3 HTML files. So now if I build the project and go back to my browser, refresh the page, and if I go to index.html, you see that this is the UI that I built for you. All right, so let me zoom out. So the UI does not look good enough. So all we need to do is to provide some CSS. So now after providing the CSS, you will have everything in my GitHub profile, and I will leave you the link in the description section below of this video. So this is how our interface looks like. So here we will have create a new meeting, and also we can provide the meeting ID and join, and here we will have the list of the connected users, and of course a logout button to log out from the application. So now let's go ahead, if I go back to my login page, and let's go ahead and implement this login and see if it works. First of all, we will start by implementing the login page. So here, as you can see, we have this HTML page, and here we have a form with the ID login form, and it contains, as I showed you before, two inputs, one for the email and one for the password. Here we need to use IDs in order to be able to get the elements. So now I will just open here, just make sure you have or you imported the login.js script, and now let's navigate to this one and let's start writing our logic. So the first thing I will do here, I will create a constant and I will call it login form equals document dot get element by ID. So the ID of my element is login form, and then all I need to do is my login form dot add event listener, and the listener that I want to add or I want to listen to is the submit event, and then I will create a method called handle login. All right, so we don't have this function yet, so whether we create it or like we ask our IDE to create it for us, but let me move it to the top. And in this handle login, I need to pass the event. So this is the event type, whether it's the click or hitting the enter button, for example, to validate or to submit the form. So the first thing is I will do event.prevent default. So I want to prevent the default behavior of my form. Then here I will just provide you also comments. So here get user input. And for that, I will create a const email equals again document.getElement by ID, and then my element ID called email, as you see right here, and then I have password. All right, so in the same way, I will just create password, and here I will get the element password. So then I will create another constant. I will call it user equals, and then it will be the JSON representation or the user object that I have. So here I have email, and then it will refer to the email, and then password, and again password. All right, after that, I need to make a call to my API, to my backend, and then I will use fetch. And for the fetch, we have two main parameters. So the first one is the URL. So my URL is http and then localhost 8080 and then /API/v1/users and then /login and then comma. And now I need to provide the init or the result initiation. So here I'll just add a semicolon, and then the method is a post method, since our method or like the login method is a post, and then I have headers. So we can also include the headers, and here let's say content dash type, and the value, of course, it's application/JSON. And after that we have our body. So the body, we need to stringify our user object. So we use json.stringify user. So after making the call, we need to listen, or we need, because it's a publish subscribe event. So then, and this fetch will return a promise. So we need then. So the then, we have the response. So let's create an object. Let's call it response and then arrow function. And here let's check first of all if the response is not okay. So if the response is not okay, so if the backend returns something other than an okay, all I need to do here, I will add an alert, and here I will say login and / or password is incorrect. Else, if I don't have any of this, I will just do return and then response.json. So here I need to transform this response to a JSON, and after that I need another then. So for this one here, I will have the final response, and then all I need to do, simply I will use my local storage dot set item, and here I will store my connected user. So I will need this information later on, and here all I need to do is json.stringify the response, and after that all I need to do is window.location. I need to redirect the user to the index page.href equals and then index.html. So once the user connects correctly or provides the correct username and password, all I need to do is to redirect the user to the index. And here let's also catch in case we have an error. So for example, let's say error, and here we can just, for example, and console.error, and let's provide, for example, post request error, and here we can log the error itself and see what went wrong. Alright, so now we have the login already implemented. Let's build our application and go back to our browser and try this out. So here, let me refresh the page, and now I will provide a wrong username and password and click on login. So here, we need email format, so .mail@mail.com, and here when I click on login, you see that we have login and or password is incorrect. And now if I provide one of the users that I created in my backend and I click login, you will see that I will be automatically redirected to the index page. Okay, so here we see that we have an error message. Just check, maybe we missed something. Alright, so here we see that in this email and password we are getting the HTML element. So here let's add .value, and again here let's add .value. So let's build again. Now let's refresh the page and let's use ali.mail.com and the password and click login. So now we see that we are automatically redirected to the index.html page. After that, I want to load on display the list of the connected users right here. So let's go ahead and do it. And it will be the same way as we implemented the login. So let's go to the index.js, since it's already imported in index.html file. So we can directly start writing our logic. So here we will need three steps. So first of all, we will need the method just to load the users. This means that we need to make a call to our backend, and then we need to display or create another method to display the users in the UI. And of course, we need to add an event, which is the onload event. Once the page loads, we want to display the list of the users. All right, so here we have the code. So let me explain it to you quickly. So here, as I mentioned before, we have a first method called load and display users. So here what we need to do is, first of all, we have this users list email.inner HTML. So this users list refers to this element or this HTML element that we have right here. So it's just a UL. So this is the second block that we have in our index page, where we have the logout button, and then we have the title connected users. So here we have a UL, so it's just a list, and then inside this list we will create the li tags. So for that, what we need to do, first we just get the users list, and when we are loading the users, I want just to display to the user a message or something that we are loading the users from our backend. And then it's simply making a fetch call or a get method. And then when we have the response, we need to transform it to JSON as we did before. And then first here, I'm just logging the data, and then I'm calling another method called display users, and I pass the data and the user list element, which is the HTML element that I want to display my users. So then inside the display users, first here I'm reinitializing or resetting an empty value for my inner HTML, and then looping through the user list and create the list items to display each user. So here we have users list dot for each, and then I'm creating a list item. So as you can see, it's document.create and then the tag. So it's an li, and after that we have our inner HTML. So here you see this back colon, and inside we can provide our HTML code. So here we have just a div, and then we have an I with a class FA. So this is font awesome, and we are using the user circle or the user icon, and then this is the username, and here we have the user email just to display it. And after that we are using a bulb. So here we are using a bulb for O if it's online, and offline if the status of the user is offline. And finally, we need to append each child or each element to our user list element. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, we need to call the load and display function when the page loads. So to do that, we need to use window.addEventListener and then load, and then we call the method that will load and display the users. So now let's build this, and let's go back to our UI and check the impact of these changes. So now I will just go ahead and refresh the page. And here we see that we have loading, and now it's connecting to the backend in order to load the list of the connected users. So as you can see here, we have Ali, John, and Anna. So that was a typo when I typed it in the backend, so we can fix it later on. So as you can see, we have 3 elements, or we have 3 users already in my application. So now let's go ahead and let's implement quickly this logout functionality, since it's a simple functionality to do. All right, now when I click on the logout button, I want to log out my user by making a call to my backend and then log the user out. And then I will show you what will be the impact that this icon right here, it will turn to red. So let's go back to our IntelliJ. And then in our index.html.js, this is where we have the logout button, and it already has an ID called logout btn. So I will just scroll down, and then I will provide you the code and I will explain it in a few seconds. All right, so in the same way, first we need to locate our logout button using the document.getElementById, and this is the logout button that will point us to the logout button element. And then all we need to do is to add an event listener of type click, and then we call the method or a function called handle logout. So this handle logout, simply it will make a post call to our backend, which is this URL right here, a post header, and the body is our connected user, since the connected user contains already the email and all the information about the user. So once the login is performed correctly, we return the response, and then we need to remove the local storage, or to clean the connected user from the local storage, and then redirect the user to the login page. So now let's go ahead and test this out. Now I will refresh the page. So it's loading the users, and then when I click on this logout, also let me show you here. When you go to application and then local storage, you see that here we have an object called connected user, and it contains this information right here. So now when I click on logout, I expect this connected user to be gone. So now we are redirected to the login page, and here we no longer see that we have this connected user. We can even clean this up. Let's log in again, and then let's provide the password. Login, we are redirected to the index.html, and now we see that we have the object connected user. And if I click on logout, so we are back again to the login page, and we have nothing. Now let's try to type the index or access the index page manually. So if I do that, it's also accessible. So I want to prevent a non-connected user from accessing this page. Also, the user ali@mail.com was logged out from the backend, so that's why we see the bulb here in red color. So now let's move on and add a small security or a small check to our application or to our index.html page in order to protect this page from getting accessed by non-connected users. So to do that, we already have this load method. All I need to do in this load and display users, I will just add a check, a small check right here. So here, check if the user is connected. And to do that, simply I will create a const, I will call it connected user equals local storage dot get item, and my item also called connected user. And then what I will do is if not connected user. So if I don't have a connected user, all I need to do is window.location.href, or like just window.location, and then equals login.html. So it works with both. And then just return right here, just to stop the user from, or stop the execution of the rest of this code right here. So now if I go back to my application, to my browser, and refresh the page. So here first, let me open this, and just to make sure that we have nothing in here. So now if I reload the page, I should be automatically redirected to the login page. So now you see after refreshing, even if I try to access again manually index.html, you see that it was like for a few seconds it was reloaded, and then I was automatically redirected to the login page. All right, so now we are almost done with the UI and the logic and the behavior of each part. Now let's move on and implement this register, and after that let's start implementing the video call functionality. So the register implementation is exactly or almost the same as the login. So here in this register.js, we will add a method to handle the registration, and also we need to call it in this exact same way. So here, just to make sure, we have in our register.html page, we are calling the register.js file, so we can go ahead and just implement the code of the registration. All right, so here, as we did for the login, so here we have the registration form, and then we just added an event listener of type submit, and here we have a method called handle registration. And this method, first of all, we just prevent default, and here just getting the user input, and this time we did not forget the value, and then we have this status called online. So here just assuming the status is online upon registration, and then we create a user object, and finally we just call the post method, which is /API/v1/users with a post method and a body, which is just stringifying this user object that we created right here. And then first we check if the user or if the response is not okay. This means that there was some kind of issue, and here just to make the message generic, we just say network response was not okay. And then all I need to do is to set the local storage and add an item, call it connected user, and then redirect the user to the index.html. Otherwise we catch any kind of exception and display the error message. So now if I rebuild the application and go back to my UI and test this one, we will see that it will be working correctly. So now let me close this. Let me also refresh the page. So here let's say test as username and then test@mail.com, and let's use a short password. When I click on register, we see that we are redirected to this page or to the index page, and now we are loading the list of the users. Here we have the user called Ali, which is already disconnected, and here we see the user we just created, which is called test. So now if I log out again and let's try to register another user, so let's call it Alex and then alex@mail.com, for example, and a short password, and click on register. So again we are redirected to the index page, and here we are loading the users. We see that also the test is already logged out, and the same for Ali. So, and also for example, if I open a new incognito window and log in again with this user, it will turn to green. All right, so now we have all the functionalities like login, registering, logging out from the application is working, and also the UI looks really good. Now let's move on and implement the functionality and implement like creating a new meeting and having a video call. So this is gonna be really interesting and really amazing. So stick there and let's move on. All right, now let's start building our video call functionality. So to do that, we will be using an API for that, and this API is provided to you by a cloud provider called ZegoCloud. So ZegoCloud is a global communication service provider which provides developer-friendly and powerful SDK and APIs to build many communication features on your app. So it provides features and SDKs and APIs such as video call, chat, conference, and so on and so forth. And you can see that under the product right here. So here you have the video call, voice call, live streaming. Also you have in-app chat, superboard, cloud recording, and so on and so forth. Also ZegoCloud is AI powered. So you have so many AI effects. So for example, get face effects, filters, and face makeup in any application. So now let me guide you step by step how you can use ZegoCloud. So first here you can click on start building, but before that, let's go ahead and create an account. So all you need to do is to click on the sign up button, and then you will be redirected to this page. So here all you need to do is to fill the first name, last name, and then you fill the rest of the information. So let's go ahead and do it. So then I will just censor the sensitive data that exists in the middle. So now when I start typing, it will be blurred. So then we need to select a country, and after that your email, and then your verification code. Once you type your email, you will get a verification code, and then you type it in the verification code right here, and then you can provide the password and just start your free trial. Once everything is done, you will be redirected to this dashboard. Once logged in, or once you create your account, you will be automatically redirected to this dashboard. So in this dashboard, you have, for example, you have by default 10,000 minutes offered by ZegoCloud. I will leave you the link in the description of this video and all the links in order to profit from this offer offered by ZegoCloud. And here, so this is the dashboard. Here you have information about the bills, and here this is how much you consumed from free trial. So for my case, it's just 60 minutes. And then you have the balance overview in case you purchase, or so here you pay as you use. And then you can start creating projects. Also, when you access the ZegoCloud dashboard, here you have so many useful information, like for example, the user statistics, like real-time network. So for example, if you have your application already live and deployed on production, you can see live real-time network. Also, you have your billing center, packages, and so forth. So the dashboard is really easy to use, and also like full of useful information at a glance. Now let's move on and let me show you how we can create a project and how we can use the video call API from ZegoCloud. Alright, after discovering the ZegoCloud dashboard, let's go ahead and create a new project. So here you have this button right here, create your project. Click on it, and here you have multiple use cases for your application. So for example, if you want a voice and video call, you can select this one. Also, it supports video conference, live streaming, live audio room, in-app chat, customized app, telehealth, one-on-one tutoring, and so forth. So here you can select the one you want. For now, let's go ahead and start the voice and video call. Select this one and then hit next. So here all you need to do, here let's say Alibu app, and then here there are two ways to get started. Whether you use the UI kit, so here it provides an embedded interactive scenarios with less than 10 lines of code, or you can use the SDK to have more control on what you want to implement. For this tutorial, let's go ahead and use the UI kits. So once you select your project name, then you can click on start with UI kits. So it will take a few seconds to create the application. Here it's just. So the project is created, and here you can select for which platform you are building this application or this video call application. So for our case here, we are using it for web. You can also select for iOS, Android, Flutter, or React Native. So let's go ahead with web. And here you have a configuration right here on the right hand side. You can select, for example, if you want to have the microphone button, the camera, audio settings, screen sharing, text chat, and so forth. Here you have the device configuration when joining. So what you want to do when join the call. So here you want to enable automatically the microphone or enable automatically your camera. So let's deactivate this one for now. And then you have in the bottom, save and start to integration. Once you click on it, it will reload a demo right here. You can even turn on the camera and you can do anything. But let's get to the config file and integrate. So once you click on it, you will have this dashboard right here. You can here directly download the HTML file or the on-click deployment. You can also, they also provide some deployment, but here you see your app ID and your server secret. So these two information, they need to be secret. So that's why you see them blurred on the video. And down here, you see that we have, this is the copy of our code, or this is the configuration of our code, and I will show it also later on. So first of all, go ahead and click on download HTML file, and let's call it video call, and then click on save. So it will be in my downloads folder, and then I will show it to you later on. Now you can click on go to admin console, and you will see your application popping up right here. So this is the latest one, built a few seconds ago. Now let's move on and let me show you how to integrate this web page. So I copied the page that we downloaded and I will paste it in here. So as we called it before, video call. So I will paste it in here. And now let's check how this page looks like. So here we have some head, some styling, and if you go down there, you will see that window on load, we have a function here, and here we are importing the Zego UI kit prebuild.js in order to use it in this code right here. So here we have a few information. So here again we have this constant. This one is to get the room ID, whether from the URL or to generate a new one. Again, we have the user ID. So this is like an auto-generated or a randomly generated user ID, a username, and we have here the app ID and app secret that they need to stay, of course, secret. Then we have this Zego UI kit pre-built. That's why it's called ZP. And then we have join room. And to join the room, we have this code right here. And in here, we see the same configuration that we did on the UI. So for example, turn microphone when joining it's false, and then turn on camera when joining it's false, and so forth. So for that, I will just build the project and I won't do anything. I will just use this web page as it is. So let's go back to our browser. And in here, if I say videocall.html and hit enter, we will see the page that will be loading. So here, this is an auto-generated username, and we have here share the link, personal link, and you can click on join to join the call. So here you also have the settings. You can adjust the settings. So this is the mic. I can also maybe switch to the other one. So this is the mic and also the speakers. You can also configure. So this is me. So you can also configure the camera to use like any camera you have installed, and so forth. So now, for example, when I click on turn on camera, so the camera is starting and you see me right here. So nice to meet you guys. You already know my face. So yeah, now I can also turn on the microphone and so forth. And when I click on join, you'll see that it will create a room, and now you see everything. So if someone else joins, for example, if I click on this info right here, and if I copy this URL and let me open an incognito browser. So if I paste this one or the URL that I copied right here, you will see that we will try to join the room with the ID 3127, and now we have a different username. So let's say maybe Alibu for this, and let's click on join, and here we see that we have, so this is me and this is Alibu. And now if I go back to the other window, we see that this is the primary one, and this is A. So for example, if I go back to the incognito, so I'm gonna make this one smaller. And now if I try to leave, or if I leave this call, so here I will just exit. So first we have like, do you want to leave the room? I say yes. And here you see that Alibu quit the room. All right, so I will close this one. And now let's go ahead and continue our implementation. So I will go back to our index.html. And now let's move on and implement the functionality for creating a new meeting and also joining an existing one. So the first thing that we will do is we will add the possibility to pass the username in the URL params. So all I will be doing, I will copy this statement right here and paste it there. And now I will just, so here it's just get, and here instead of room ID, I will be using username as a parameter. So if we have a username in the URL, so we will use it. Otherwise, we will be using the username plus the generated user ID. So now everything is ready. Let's move on and implement the functionality in our index.html. And this is when we click on the button, create new meeting. So now let's go back to our index.js. Let me make this one full screen, and I will just scroll to the bottom. And now I will just implement as the previously, I will implement the click event on the create new meeting. Alright, so the code looks exactly like this. And here what do we have? We have a function handle new meeting, and then it's just creating a constant, and we are getting the username from the connected user since it's already stored in our local storage. And then we want to open the URL videocall.html, and we want to pass the username as a parameter in the URL, and the username is just simply connected user.username, and here blank because I want to open it in a new tab. Alright, now I'm gonna refresh the page, and here it's loading the connected users. Now I can click on create a new meeting, and as we mentioned before, this will open a new window in our browser, or a new tab in our browser. And as you can see here, we have the name or the username Alex in the URL, and this name is populated right here. So for example, just let's say Fu right here, and if I refresh, you see that we have Fu right now. So now let's bring it back to Alex, and now we are able to create a new meeting. So let's click on join. Let's keep it full, it's not a problem. And here, as I mentioned before, we see the list of the connected users. Also, we can start a chat, and even we have the link. So the link, if I copy it and I will open a new tab, here we have an auto-generated room ID. What we want to implement next is when I type this room ID and click on join, I want to join the same room that was created here. Alright, so now let's move on and implement that. Now, alright, so the join meeting, it's a button having the join meeting btn as ID. All we need to do, as in the same way for handling a new meeting, we need to add a new event and create the function that will handle joining an existing meeting. So let's go ahead and implement that, and I will explain it to you step by step. Alright, so this is the final code. Here, first we just get the join meeting button, and then we add a click event listener, and it will use, or it will point to the handle join meeting. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the room ID from the input called meeting name, and afterwards we need to get the connected user. Alright, so now let me explain to you the code. So as usual, we get the join meeting by querying the document.getElementById, and then we just add an event listener of type click, and here we call the handle join meeting every time we click on the join button. So here it's really simple. So first of all, we need to get the room ID from the input, and then what we need to do, we just get the connected user because we need to pass the user name. And here it's just constructing the URL. So for the URL, we have the videocall.html, and then we pass two parameters. First, the room ID, and then the user name. And all we need to do is to open the window in a new tab, and then we let the ZegoCloud UI kit handle the rest. So now the functionality is already implemented. Let me publish these updates, and let's go back to our browser and try to test this one. Alright, so here I have two browsers and two different browsers. So I'm using Chrome and I'm using the Brave browser. And now I will create a meeting using one of them. So here this is I'm connecting with the user Ali, and here I'm connecting with the user Alex. So now I will create a new meeting using the user Ali. So here you will see that the name is Ali. So I will join. And then of course it will ask me if I want to allow using the camera and the microphone. So I can click on yes. And then I want to get the room ID from here. And now I will go back in this UI. So here I have two options. So I will just paste the link, and now I can join using the room ID. So let's go ahead and do it. So if I join, here I have the name, and also here I have the room ID. So if I click on join, the user on the right hand side will be notified that a new or another person has joined. So let me display the room members, and I will click on join here. So now you see that at the same time, we see that Alex has joined, and also we see that we have two people. Now we can start a chat, like whether a text chat, or also we can open the cameras and start talking with each other. So here, if I say hello, you see that we have a small notification in here. So let's open it. We can read the message and hi there. And you see that the message will be sent immediately. So let's try to open the camera. All right, now let me change the settings in here. And for the video, I'm gonna use this one. All right, so it's me again. And now I'm not sure if I open the camera from this side, how it's gonna look like. So again, it's me talking to myself and showcasing this awesome tutorial. I hope you like it, and I hope you are enjoying this one. So, all right, now I'm gonna exit from, okay, so let's exit from this one. So yeah, are you sure? And here you see that I just got immediately notified that that user quit the chat. So let me also turn off the camera, and here let's go back. Also, we can join the room, or me as Alex user, I can directly create a new meeting. So when I click on create new meeting, and I can create my own meeting, and you see that the user is no longer joining the same one because it's a different room ID. Alright, so that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope now you are able to build your own video call application. Also, go ahead and check the description of this video. I will leave you all the links that you need to gain 10,000 minutes for free from ZegoCloud.